Hello learners, welcome to this agricultural video, Animal Production, Establishing of Pasture and Preservation of Feed for Level 1 students. Basically, these competencies have 4 learning outcomes. Among them, the first one is L1, that means prepare for pasture establishment. Under this learning outcome, we have got selecting and checking suitable personal protective equipment or PPEs for pasture establishment. Student, what are the suitable personal protective equipment used for pasture establishment? How to select the suitable personal protective equipment used for pasture establishment and how to check the personal protective equipment used for pasture establishment. Student, don't worry about it. We will give you complete information about them. Now, let's see one by one. Personal protective equipment or PPE. Before discussing anything, it's better to understand what are PPEs or personal protective equipment for pasture establishment. Let's start from definition of PPEs. PPEs are equipment that used to protect the body from external hazardous matters or conditioning during any work activity in the workplace. When, in our context, our competence is pasture establishment, isn't it? So that PPEs are equipment that used to protect the body from external hazardous matter during pasture establishment. The next important point is, that selecting the appropriate PPEs. During pasture establishment, you have to select the appropriate PPEs or personal protective equipment. So, how protective clothing and equipment is necessary? It's better to understand this point. This depends on the duty being undertaken and chemical being used, but the workplace instruction and manufacturer direction should be used as a guideline. The recommended minimum protective clothing and equipment necessary for dealing with a particular work. Generally, the degree of protection required will be relative to the degree of hazards presented by a particular product and work. The next typical point, that checking PPE. Before using any PPE, you have to check it whether it is functional or not. Checking PPE refers to the process of examining their part of ensure their normal functioning. Student, what are the importance of checking PPEs? That means important conducting pre-operational checking on PPEs before using personal protective equipment. There are at least 2 types of importance of PPEs. Among them, the first one is to identify the problem, defect, damage or the PPEs and take an action to correct or change them before use them. And the second one is to control any hazards and risks that can be arised from using of the PPE and take minimization action timely. Student, what are the basic types of PPE? You have to know the basic type of PPEs. The strict control will not necessarily eliminate all the risks associated with most job tasks, and this will where the need for PPEs must be evaluated. You have to evaluate, isn't it? A hazard assessment can be help identify which specialized PPE will be required. However, the following basic types of PPE should be made available in pasture establishment activities. Among them, the first one is, that eye and face protector. In other case, we call it goggle. Eye and face protector or goggles are important to provide protection during exposure to hazards like flying, particles, metals or spark, liquid, chemicals, caustic liquid, light, radiation, that means welding lasers. This eye protection should always be worn where there is a potential for injury to the eyes. Student, remember that different PPEs or personal protective equipment should be worn clean and free from any contaminants. The next types of PPE is hearing protection, or we can say that earphone. This hearing protection or earphone are important to provide protection during exposure to high pitch and loud noise level. Exposure to high level of noise may result in hearing loss. Most hearing protection devices have a noise reduction rating (NRR) that indicates the amount of protection provided. Another important type of PPE is that head protection. We call it helmet. Head protection are important to provide protection to the potential hazards such as falling object, striking against low-hanging object, electrical hazard, and chemical application may be a hazard. So we can protect by using this head protection or helmet. So our head protected from such kind of hazard. The next types of PPE is that hand protection, or we can say that hand glove. This hand glove is important to provide protection during exposure to the potential hazards such as sharp object, abrasive surface, temperature extreme, and chemical contact. So we can protect our hand from such kind of hazard. Selecting proper glove is very important since the hands are used to handle hazardous material. In addition, traumatic injuries such as cut, sprain, and punctures may occur. Chemical resistance gloves are always recommended when working with pesticides and chemicals. The other important types of PPE is, that respiratory protection. Simply, we can say that mask. Respirators are used to prevent the exposure to air contaminated with harmful dust, fume, mist, gas, smoke, and spray. All respiratory usage include disposal respirator, air purifier respirator, and air supplied respirator require annual fit testing and training prior to use. Another type of PPE is that foot protection, or simply we can say that boot. Foot protection is used to provide protection for situations with the potential of injury such as falling, or we can say that rolling object, chemicals or liquid exposure, piercing object, and where feet are exposed to electrical hazard. So during this time, we can protect our leg and foot by using boots. The last but not the least types of PPE is that body protection, or we can say that overall or body suit. PPE includes safety vest and suit should be used for tasks that can cause body injuries from extreme temperature, flame and spark, toxic chemicals, insect bites, and radiation. A student, have you got me? In this competency, the other important point is that identifying materials, tools, and equipment for pasture establishment. Before identifying materials, tools, and equipment, it's better to understand common terminology about materials, tools, and equipment. Among them, the first one is machinery. Machinery are mechanical devices with moving parts often powered by electricity used to perform a task. Example, cyclone seeder, Celtic packer, a spinner spreader, mulcher. The other terminology is that tools. What are tools? Simply, tools are a device for doing a work, or we can say that an object designed to do a specific kind of work, such as cutting or chopping by directing manual applied force or by means of a motor. Example of tools are machete pick, sickle, mattock, and shovel or spade, axe, hay fork, and other tools. Other important terminology is that equipments are necessary items, tools, clothing, or other items needed for a particular activity or purpose. Example of equipments are wheelbarrow, water can, sack, water pump, and a sprayer. During working any pasture establishment activity, the suitable material, tools, and equipment should be identified and available. After identifying all the required materials, now the operation and maintenance system or checks the present condition of tools, improve or maintain if it is necessary. There are different kinds of material, tools, and equipment that can be used in pasture establishment. Among them, the first material, tools, and equipment used for pasture establishment are materials and tools used for land preparation tools. The first one is machete. Machete is a large heavy knife with a broad blade used as a tool for cutting through vegetation. Sickle, a short handle implement with a curved blade used for cutting tall grass or grain. Axe, a tool consisting of a flat heavy metal head with a sharpened edge attached to a long handle, and it is used to chop wood or fell trees. Pick, a tool used for breaking up hard surface consisting of a long handle and a curved metal head that is pointed at one end and zero pointed or like a chisel at the other. Mattock is a tool like a pickaxe with one end of its blade flattened and right angle to its handle used for loosening soil and cutting through a root. Shovel and spade. Most of the time they are similar, but they have some difference in terms of shape. Shovel and spades are hand tools consisting of a broad, usually curved blade attached to long handle used for lifting and moving loosened material, just like soil. The other types of tools used for land preparation is that plow. Plow is a heavy farming tool with a sharpened blade or series of blades for breaking up of soil and making furrow, usually pulled by a tractor. Let's talk about tractor. Tractor means a farm vehicle or a motor vehicle used for pulling a heavy load. Mulcher. Mulcher is a specialized rotary cutter used to cut a grass, mulches, and spray. The other important tools used for land preparation are, that seeder or plantings. That means sowing tools. Seeder are a mechanical device designed to scatter seed on the surface of a ground. Seeders are usually either pulled by a tractor or heavy wheel and handle that is pushed. The other types of tools and equipments used to control weeds. What are the material tools and equipments used to control weeds? The first one is, hoe. Hoe is a garden implement consisting of a long pole with a small flat metal blade set into one end at a right angle to the pole, and it is important for weeding and turning over the soil. The next one is, sprayer. It's a device that's capable of spraying liquid over an area. The next one is, that watering equipment. Under watering equipment, it's better to discuss about watering can. Watering can is a container with a handle and a spot often with a perforated nozzle used to water plants. Water pump. Water pump is a motorized device that can draw water from its source and push through a pipe. Student, are you with me? Alright, the next important point is that what are the machineries used for forage conservation? There are a lot of machines and tools used for forage conservation. Among them, mower is the first one. Mower is a machine often power operated that cuts a grass with rotating blade. The next one is baler. Baler is a farm machine used to compress a cut and dried crop, that means hay or straw, into a compact bale that are easy to handle, transport, and store. The third machine and tools used for forage conservation is that hay fork. Hay fork is a grapple device used for moving and turning hay. The next important tools is that silo is a structure or a container used for store fermented green feed known as silage. Silo can be peat silo, plastic bags, barrel, and any structure constructed above or below the ground that can store green feed for fermentation. Molasses is also another ingredient and materials used to prepare forage conservation. It is the thick, sticky, sweet syrup produced during the refining of raw sugar. Simply, molasses is byproduct of sugar. Plastic sheet is also another material source and equipment used for forage conservation method. It can be used to cover inner surface of a pit silo to prevent moisture and air from entering into a silage. Student, In addition to other materials, tools, and equipment, forage seed we can consider just like materials, tools, and equipment. Forage seed is a forage plant parts produced by asexual reproduction that contains the embryo and gives rise to a new individual. Pasture. Pasture is a land which is enclosed and separated from surrounding area by fence or other barrier and devoted to the production of forage for harvest primarily by grazing. Forage. It's a herbaceous plant or plant parts consumed by animals. Forage crop. Plants grown primarily for livestock feeding and either used for grazing or harvested for green crop feeding, silage or hay. Browse. Leaves and fungus growth of shrubs, woody vines, trees, and other non-herbaceous vegetation available for animal consumption. Fertilizer. Is an organic or synthetic substance usually added to or sprayed onto soil to increase its ability to support plant growth. Sack. Sack is known as a large bag that is made from coarse cloth used to hold grain and other similar products. Wheelbarrow is a small cart used to transport things, usually in the form of an open container with a single wheel at the front and two handles at the back. Tape measure, commonly known as meter, is a long roll or strip of fabric, plastic, paper, or thin metal that is marked of an inch or centimeter or meter for measuring the length of something. What is the importance of conducting pre-operational checking on machinery, tools, and equipment? Student, do you remember that in the previous topic we have discussed about the importance of checking PP? Nowadays, similar to that, you have to check also the machinery, tools, and equipment. At the time of checking tools and equipment, you have to identify the problem like defect and damage of the machinery, tools, and equipment. You have to identify any hazard and risk during operation. Finally, your solution measure will be immediately take action to correct or change them before using them. The next important point is that identifying OHS hazard. Student, do you know what does hazard mean? Hazard is nothing but the term that refers to dangerous conditions that can result risk in the working place. This can be physical, mechanical, chemical, and biological factors which affect or harm the health and safety of all people and animals in the working place if the worker do not follow the correct procedure safely. There are OHS hazards in pasture establishment and preservation of feed, but this mistake may be corrected if a worker uses personal protective equipment or PP correctly and follow working procedure. It's all about establishing of pasture and preservation of feed learning outcome 1. Thank you for watching this video. See you next time.